Have you ever felt overwhelmed by feelings of guilt or shame, unsure whether they're helping or hurting you? Well, in today's video, we're going to uncover the critical difference between healthy and toxic shame and how our therapy can help you tell them apart. Toxic shame leads to feelings of unworthiness, driving harmful behaviors like people pleasing or shutting down emotionally. Healthy shame, on the other hand, helps us grow. It encourages responsibility, self reflection, and setting healthy boundaries. In today's segment, part 3 of our 4-part video series, we'll explore how to distinguish between healthy and toxic shame. And then I'll guide you through an art therapy exercise to help you visually separate these different types of shame and gain more clarity around how shame helps you and when it hinders you. If you haven't seen the first 2 parts of this series yet, please be sure to check them out. We have covered the origins of toxic shame and how it affects your relationships based on attachment styles. By learning to recognize the difference between healthy and toxic shame today, you'll be able to break free from destructive patterns and reconnect with your authentic self. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss the final segment in this series. And also be sure to comment with your thoughts and experiences below. So let's dive in. To begin, let's explore the difference between healthy shame and toxic shame and why knowing the distinction is really crucial for growth and healing. Healthy shame is a natural, necessary response that acts like your inner conscience or compass. It kicks in when you've made a mistake or you've crossed a boundary, signaling that it's time for some self-reflection and course correction. The key is that healthy shame is tied to an action. It is not your entire identity. For example, imagine that you make an insensitive comment and that hurts someone's feelings. That feeling of regret is a form of healthy shame. It's telling you, ooh, what I said was unkind and disrespectful. Is that the kind of person I want to be? No, but maybe I could try again, and this time making more space for someone else's feelings. If I do that, it's likely to improve my relationships and inspire others to care about my feelings too. So you apologize and you learn from the moment and you adjust your behavior. Overall, healthy shame allows you to grow, repair relationships, and continue with your self-respect intact. It helps keep relationships strong because it prompts you to respect other people's boundaries and align your own actions with your most deeply held values. And once you've corrected the behavior, healthy shame fades away. It's temporary and it doesn't follow you around. Now, toxic shame is much more damaging. Instead of being linked to a specific behavior, it's usually a pervasive belief that you are fundamentally flawed. This kind of shame stems from early experiences of neglect or trauma, making someone feel unworthy deep down. Toxic shame convinces you that you're not just making mistakes, you are a mistake. So, for instance, a child who is constantly criticized might grow into an adult who feels inherently unworthy, even when they've done nothing wrong. They might believe, I'll never be enough. And this leads to constant self-criticism and emotional pain. Rather than learning from mistakes, toxic shame traps you in a cycle of feeling defective and constantly turning it in on yourself. The major difference is that healthy shame is temporary and linked to specific actions, while toxic shame is tied to your sense of self and it is persistent over time. Healthy shame encourages you to grow and to reflect, whereas toxic shame makes you feel stuck in unworthiness, preventing you from moving forward. Now, breaking free from toxic shame starts with recognizing this distinction. Embracing healthy shame as a tool for learning and rejecting the idea that you're inherently flawed can open the door to healing. So through self-compassion and therapeutic work, it is possible to rebuild your self-worth and leave toxic shame behind. So in short, healthy shame is part of being human. It allows us to grow, whereas toxic shame is just an unnecessary burden and it can be overcome. Now, the reality is most of us carry both healthy and toxic shame inside of ourselves. For individuals that have insecure attachment, it's likely that toxic shame tends to weigh more heavily on that scale. So in today's activity, we're going to bring awareness and acknowledgement to this balance inside and use creative processes to explore the mask that shame inspires us to wear. Now, before we dive into it, does any of this sound familiar? Do you see or experience confusion between healthy and toxic shame popping up in your life and in your relationships? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so now we are going to transition into our creative arts activity to explore this in an experiential way. You are going to need a blank sheet of paper and some coloring materials to work with: markers, crayons, pastels, colored pencils, any of those will do. So first, you're going to take your page and fold it in half, and then open it to lay flat on your drawing surface. You're going to draw a simple outline of a face or a mask and use the crease to evenly divide it down the middle. On one side, we're going to label the page healthy shame, and on the other side, we're going to label it toxic shame. Now I'm going to read a few phrases that would reflect an expression of healthy shame. I want you to jot down in the negative space the phrases that resonate the most with you. Try to choose at least 2 to 3. Remember, you can pause the video if you need me to slow down, or you may use your own phrases. Let's begin. I know I made a mistake, but it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. When I make a mistake, I can learn from it and do better next time. If I've hurt someone, I can own up to it, apologize, and repair. Acknowledging my mistakes motivates me to clarify my values and adjust accordingly. Once I've made things right, the shame fades and I feel good about myself. Once you've identified at least 2 to 3 of these statements, I'd like you to assign different colors to them. You are going to be using these colors to fill in the mask with different textures, shapes, lines, and designs to visually represent how healthy shame functions for you. Be sure to take your time with this and to enjoy the activity, and of course you can always pause the video to give yourself more time. Now we're going to switch to the other side, and I'm going to read a few phrases that would reflect an expression of toxic shame. And I want you to jot down in the negative space the phrases that resonate with you. Try to choose at least 2 to 3 or your own phrases. And remember, you can pause the video if you need me to slow down. Let's begin. When I mess up, it proves there's something deeply wrong with me. No matter how hard I try, I'll never be enough. I keep replaying my mistakes over and over and can't get past them. Even when things are good, I still feel like there's something wrong with me. After I've fixed a problem, the shame lingers and it weighs me down. Once you've identified at least 2 to 3 statements like that, I'd like you to assign colors to them. And you are going to use these colors to fill in the second side of the mask with different textures, shapes, lines, and designs to visually represent how toxic shame functions for you. Now be sure to take your time with this and to enjoy the activity. And you can stop this video to give yourself a little time. Now, to process the experience, you might imagine talking directly to your mask and find out if it has something to say. Some simple questions to get you started might be, what is your name? How old are you? How do you help me? What do you need to heal? And how can I help you? So what did your mask have to say? If you're willing to share, just pop it there in the comments below. Now, I've seen countless students go from feeling trapped in toxic shame to feeling more confident and secure when they are able to engage in creative exercises like this, because they are tapping into their intuition and the resource of their own inner wisdom around what it is that they individually need to heal. So I would have you take my student Joe, for example. Joe was a divorced single dad. And when he came to me, he was struggling with a disorganized attachment, feeling like his emotional chaos was something that nobody could ever understand. But after taking my course, he discovered that his attachment style was just part of his story. It was not something to be ashamed of. And exploring his creativity really allowed him to tap into something pretty powerful in his transformational process. But I will let Joe speak for himself.
And the disorganized stuff and just the way you described it, it just grabbed me. There's a way that you approach disorganized attachment when you categorize it as the spice of lifer. That is, it's healing, it's life-giving. It's not that you're this disconnected freak that nobody's going to ever understand. You're not lost out there. It's like, no, this is part of your story, and there's ways to work in this in healthy, functional, good ways. This is where I often felt everything going, and it was like dropping into this black hole, and then as time went on, it became like a wormhole that launches me out on the other side, and bursting forth with radiant energy that lights up others. And so when something stirs up and says, you need to work on this, you need to answer that.
Now, I'm happy to say that when you commit to engaging in creative processes and approaches like this, you feel more grounded and centered, and you develop a greater sense of personal empowerment and agency. You're able to transform intellectual insight into actionable processes that help you not only think differently, but feel differently while attracting and feeling attracted to healthier people and relationship dynamics. Now, if you want to dig deeper, you can click the link attached to this video and you can take a quick and easy quiz. That is going to let you know what your attachment style might be, as well as the strengths and growth challenges that you can expect. It will also direct you to the best course that is the correct starting point for you. Now, with that, let's dive into some final thoughts for today. The growth challenges for insecure individuals that struggle with toxic shame include sifting and sorting between healthy expressions of shame and when shame is holding them back. So that means letting go of beliefs such as, I'm inherently unworthy, and adopting beliefs such as, I'm capable of making mistakes, but I'm also capable of correcting them. It does not define who I am. Now, when we can adopt these new, more positive beliefs, then that opens up the possibilities for more secure and fulfilling relationships without the constant need to suppress or hide our emotions out of fear. We can express intimacy, connection, and love without carrying the burden of toxic shame. And in fact, we can use our healthy shame to create deeper, long-lasting, and reciprocal relationships. Now, my Attachment 101 courses will guide you through these growth challenges using a multimodal approach that help you transform these patterns. Again, if you'd like to learn more, you can click the link attached to this video and find out the correct starting point for you. To learn more about how to cultivate loving and secure relationships, make sure that you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And be sure to come back next week for our final installment in this video series. I deeply appreciate your feedback and support. Thank you and have a great week. Also, remember to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I put out videos once a week and I wouldn't want you to miss out.